on WRCR. Good morning, Tina. How are you?
Good morning, everybody over there. How is everybody?
We're doing well, and yourself?
I can't complain. What a beautiful weekend it was.
Yes, indeed. Quite nice weather. A little chilly in my personal opinion, but I'm not a fan of the colder weather. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I hear you. Watching all those leaves come off the trees, it's inevitable.
Lots of ticks for my dogs to pick up. I got one from my dog. I'm fine, though. They're deer ticks, but yeah, the other one I managed to catch before he had burrowed his way into my one dog, so thankfully. Hasn't been too bad, though, so.
No, that's all right then. Well, hopefully the weather will hold out through the Thanksgiving holiday, which is what we are going to talk about today.
Huzzah!
But not weather. We're going to talk about what the retail climate looks like.
Right.
So, bigger picture, before we kind of drill down to Rockland, is we're looking at a confluence of issues that that are unfamiliar and happening all at once, and those include chip shortages. So I don't know that this is going to be the best time to shop for any smart product, any gadget that relies on chips. We know cars, forget about it. The used market has exploded with the highest prices in years. And the chip shortages are factoring into that as well. Inflation. We're seeing everything creeping up. Is that going to stem the appetite for spending after 2 years of pandemic and lockdown? I'm going to predict no, that we're going to see a continued spending. Perhaps this is still pandemic money in people's bank accounts, again, or just pent-up demand. The thing everybody was talking about was last week Macy's stock jumped almost 25% in one day after it announced earnings. So, and then gas prices. Gas prices, too, are super painful. And as a sidebar to that, I mean, just we're starting to see in some of the main arteries in Rockland, I am seeing gas prices inching up toward $4, and that is just ouch. You really can still cross the border over to New Jersey and find gas for $3.29. So, to all those people out there who do not want to be gouged, there is cheaper gas. But let's look at Rockland County. Some just sort of a random roundup of some things that we've seen this week. So Banana Republic is closing its doors at the already ghostly shops at Nanuet.
Mm-hmm.
This was not unexpected because the Gap had announced the intent to close stores. CVS has just announced the closure of 900 stores nationwide, yet it has just opened a gleaming 12,000 square foot store just steps away from the Rite Aid on Route 303 in Valley Cottage. We've got Harbor Freight coming to West Nyack, but probably not in time for the holidays. Sainsbury is a chain of European convenience stores that has plans to open a new location in Stony Point on Route 210. This is a high-end convenience store that's testing the waters here, which is interesting. And convenience stores themselves are morphing, not just lottery tickets and beer, but looking at fresh food and takeout. We know from the recent reporting that we've been doing that Brixmor, which owns Rockland Plaza, is trying to move in the direction of food, and has made some sort of a promise of some sort of a desirable grocer that's coming to the center, although, as we talked about last week, one wonders what that will mean for a matter of health. So, and, over on the other side at home is still the top floor of the Macy's building, 100,000 square feet. That's still empty, as is the former Stop and Shop that moved over to where the Fairway sits. And then if we talk about business opportunities, today we will publish a story that talks about how the village of Nyack might be one of the few outliers here in the county to go forward and opt in on the cannabis front, along with the village of Haverstraw and a couple of other villages in Ramapo. And this too really is about, I'm looking at this through the lens of business opportunity. Because as one person said, and we have her quoted in the story that will come out today, the greatest, one of the greatest challenges now is, it's a new term that's being thrown around. It's called, this is for retail. It's called internet proof. And what does that mean? That means, brick and mortar stores that where people just simply have to come there. Hair salons, spas, dentists, pet grooming. You can't do those things online. And these cannabis dispensaries will fall under that category. And so it's another reason to think about as we try to replace the things that have become dispensable and have given way to online shopping, is to think about those things that are, quote, internet proof. So it seems that the majority of the towns and villages have opted out, and they say that at some point they will potentially opt back in. But the reality is that there will only be so many state licenses that will be issued, and there will only be, there'll be a certain appetite for entrepreneurs to find those places where there's a friendly environment, or even where it's allowed. And that will, they will be laying that groundwork now before 2023, when we're likely to see the first dispensaries start to open. So all around, we have an interesting picture here of an economy that is dealing with issues inflation, which we haven't seen, I think, of this level in 30 years. Shortages that I don't think any of us can ever remember. Gas prices that I last remember gas prices like this in 2005 when it was hitting $5. And at the same time, a changing landscape, pent-up demand, money in the bank, a whole bunch of different circumstances. So it's going to be an interesting thing to watch it all play out.
Yes, indeed. We just had a caller that wanted you to reiterate. I didn't remember which store you were referring to when you said this. Which was it that closed in the Nanuet Mall that came as a surprise?
No, Banana Republic, which did not come as a surprise. Because, because the Gap had announced its intent to close stores, and so that was, targeted. That it wasn't a surprise. But, it's another blow to the shops at Nanuet. So,
right.
We're watching to see, what's going to survive and what isn't. I think this whole idea of what's internet proof is a very interesting thought.
Do you think it ultimately has a positive or a negative effect specifically on current business as it stands?
Well, I think that the reason that we're seeing something like, Rockland Plaza try to reinvent itself with food is because I think most people still go out to get their food. They go to a grocery. So I think that, if you look at that shopping center now, its decline over the last, let's say, decade is very obvious. Is Barnes and Noble going to survive? I doubt it. We're too primed now, no pun intended, but we're too primed to buy our books and our music and our clothing and so many things online. So we have to think about either something that's that's experiential, or something that you simply cannot do online. I mean, you just cannot get a pedicure online. You can't, get your dog washed online. Another new trend, actually, in what in sort of an internet proof, is the emergence of what's called med-tailing. So this is where medical services meet retail. So we're going to start seeing like chains of teeth whitening locations and Botox clinics and things like that. So it's all about, the retail environment, the shops at Nanuet that had the goal of being this kind of upscale place for clothing and accessories. I think that's largely not survivable in this retail, reinvention, reset. It's all moving in a different direction. So,
right.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to to watch what's happening, and I think that the whole holiday season. I think that this holiday season is going to be studied because, like I said, it brings together a confluence of unique events that I don't think that we've ever all at one time seen. People having much more savings, inflation, high gas prices, pent-up demand, and at the same time a vastly transitioning retail landscape. So this is definitely interesting for academics and interesting for economists and just interesting for everybody. Because if you pay attention, it's a very interesting and unique environment, an interesting time to look at the economy and to see what's happening. And the pandemic produced a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who don't want to go back into the corporate world, people who don't want to sit in office buildings.
Right.
And so it's important to understand that. This isn't yesterday's economic environment. I was going to say it's not your grandmother's economic environment, but no, not even maybe your economic environment of 5 years ago. So it's a lot of change. It's very interesting, and like any community is a laboratory that shows where things are going. And here in Rockland, we're watching a lot of decisions. We're watching what happens to, the malls. We're watching what happens to the inline shopping centers. We're watching what happens in the office market. We're watching what happens at the retail level in the towns and villages. And we will keep bringing you the observations.
Yes, indeed, as it is the goal of the Rockland County Business Journal. It's a very interesting time to study and sort of watch and learn, just in case, and God forbid this were ever to occur again, and hopefully this hasn't impacted, hopefully it doesn't impact any worse than it already has, but it's been interesting to see how certain businesses accommodate to the certain situations. I know my fiance actually got involved with she didn't get hired by them or anything, but she was purchasing, it was like a small, locally owned shoe business that also got into the business of mask making, as a matter of fact, to sort of accommodate for the lack of business in the shoe department. So I saw a lot of local and small businesses turn to mask making, the felt masks, as it were, and it seemed to be a pretty lucrative business. I don't know if they'll, when we're towards the end of this thing, and most say that we already are, but we're not quite at the end yet, whether or not what'll happen to all those supplies. With extra masks laying around, but we will just have to see. And thank you so much, Tina Traster, for calling us, as always, on a Monday morning at 9:15. We will talk to you next week, if not before then. Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, everybody.
And you as well. Thank you so